Thank you very much, Tony and Nikki, for the invitation to be here. When I was asked to come to speak among referees, I was a little reluctant at the beginning, but I said to myself, this is such an important part of the development of the game. And I think, how many coaches are in the room? Are there any here, or is it exclusively referees? A few. Well, that's great. And I think if we can have more synergy between coaches and referees, it just helps the game move forward. So what I've done is I've prepared a series of clips that I'd like to show you. And I didn't come here today to talk at you by any means. I'm part of the discussion, and I would like to get your interpretations on what we're about to see. I know that I have mine, and I can't really say that this is the coach's interpretation. This is how I view these particular moments of the game that I'm about to show. But I think it'll stimulate some interesting discussion among the group. All right. So I'll just give you a little bit of context as to what we're looking at here. We are down in the trenches here in youth soccer. And this is a Toronto FC Academy game that's being played up in Ottawa. So it's a U14 game, and they're playing 1 year up. So what I'll do is I'll just play the clip a couple times so you can see what happens, and then we'll use a little bit of slow motion as well as a magnification, which is a new tool that Tony's going to use. All right. Okay, here we go. So I'll play it one more time. Thoughts, comments?
That was a shot.
Interesting.
We can't see the lines on the field, but we're assuming.
Tough. Do you want to know the outcome of this?
Yes.
Okay. The outcome was an indirect free kick that was called by the referee and a red card issued to the defender. Well, yeah. Again, I'm hoping that this sparks a bit of a debate here as to what we're looking at. But let's look at it again. So here's the moment I guess we're looking at. So it's a defender who's chasing the attacker from behind. And there's an intervention that's about to take place. Now, we could say perhaps he is behind the attacker. We could also argue that maybe he's coming in from the side, right? My question also would be, I guess if we just rewind it back to this point, is the referee in a good position to make the call? And I think the referee just enters the frame there.
Because he's immediately behind the player.
Yeah.
First of all.
Right? So,
But the way that play went, that referee doesn't have to, like, unless he's like Superman, he's in the right position.
it's a fast action. It's a fast action from this point here.
Even from the pass from the corner. Like, even with there, he's going hard.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I guess you could ask a similar question of the AR, perhaps, if we take it back. So there's the AR there. Right. And we get to the moment of the intervention. So we could ask questions about maybe the positioning of the referee, also the positioning of the defender, right? So the defender is going in, side, behind. And now we get to this moment here. And it's a little tough to see. But there's this action that takes place there. Question, does he touch the ball first? Is there contact with the attacker? I would say there is some contact, for sure. However, the attacker stays on his feet. And I'm thinking here that the referee has allowed the play to continue because he is in a position to score a goal. Please feel free to disagree or correct me if I'm wrong.
If that was the case, the referee really should be showing the advancing signal. They should be doing something to let coaches know.
Thank you. Okay, so we should see something like this to allow the advantage. There is an attempt at goal, and somehow he's able to miss the goal. So it's not a goal. And the referee now is running and signaling for that indirect free kick. And we don't actually have the footage, but after that, the red card comes out. Okay?
But for what? What is the red card for?
For the foul that you just saw.
Oh, for the foul.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
something like
no, nothing else happened after that.
It was an inverse free kick for the attack.
Indirect free kick for the white team. That was the call. That was the call.
And this was inside the penalty area.
You would think at that distance.
Close, right?
So an interesting question, I guess, would be, what happens if he scores? And I'm not. It's a rhetorical question, but do we have an answer for it? What if he scores?
most referees, and this is an honest opinion, if he scores, good goal, no problem.
Okay.
Common sense.
Because it was an advantage.
Well,
Up
Yes.
to this point, he hasn't whistled. Doesn't look like he whistled.
No.
So he's allowing play to continue.
The whistle goes there.
See, after the ball went in, now he whistled.
Hmm.
But because of
He
the
took the whistle and the whistle there. So this came in after.
because of the illegal play of the red team, though, the guy didn't get a fair shot at the net. So his shot was impaired by an illegal play. So if it went in, good for you because your skill level's up about it. But if it doesn't, then because of the impairment of the illegal play, it should be a yellow card in the penalty check. Indirect instead of that.
Again.
So when we survey the room, I think maybe yellow cards up if you think it should have been what was it called, indirect free kick, yellow card?
No, indirect free kick, direct red card.
Okay, so if you agree with that, show me a red card. If you don't agree with it, show me a yellow card.
Interesting. Interesting. The ultimate result of this from the red, obviously, this was in the first half, by the way, 20 minutes into the game, so he had to leave this game. And subsequently, there was a 3-game suspension that the player incurred. We tried to appeal. The appeal was denied. And I think I sent this to you, Tony, for an interpretation as well before I went to the hearing. It was incredible. This was, I think, maybe a 12-game season, 12 or 13 games. 3-game suspension in addition to missing the second half of this for an under 14 player. It's a significant chunk of the season for that. I thought it was a bit harsh, but I thought it was interesting to kind of show that just to start the discussion here.
If I may add something.
Please.
The disciplinary decision is out of referee's control, right?
Absolutely.
We write every report and all this. My advice in this is like, take your time. Don't rush your decision, especially when it's a breakaway like this, one-on-one on the goalkeeper. Let's see the outcome of the kick. Because if it's a goal, I would tell you, go, run, get out of there. Nothing happened. The player stood up. There's no injury. Everybody's happy. The attacking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the attacking team, what do they want the most? They don't want a foul, or they don't want a penalty kick, even they want the goal. If you have to choose between. Am I correct to say
Yes,
that?
you are.
Yes. So we want, as a referee, not to make a call that disadvantage the attacking team in this situation. Does that make sense? Okay? So that would be a good thinking as a referee. So,
Excellent.
sorry, but, you know.
Please.
This is exactly one. This is exactly what we want.
Sonia,
I want you to rebut.
Okay, very good.
Can I just ask, as a referee, you say you give the goal there, but you realise that you tried to commit a foul, but they didn't know. Would you have a word? Or would
Yes,
you
I would have a word. You know, preventing refereeing, instead of like calling the foul, because you know the outcome is there, there's a goal, everybody's happy, I would definitely run, you know, and have a quick word to the player. Yes. And I think this is all we need. Okay? Yeah, I mean, in this case, in particular. And please bear with me, it's really hard to see if you
Yeah.
touch the ball first. Where was the contact? But, you know, we're missing a lot of element here to like really make a 100% decision, but I think it's a fair assessment. I don't want to take this
Comment before we go on.
spot there, but.
Please, yeah.
As a coach, I had a discussion with that player, whether the contact was whatever, he's put himself in a situation where there could be serious consequences. If somebody's running down like that and they're taking a slide from behind, and I'm gonna take the referee's view that it was definitely from behind. Now he's putting himself to ground, hoping to get the ball first.
Yeah.
Whether he did or not, it's hard to see. The referee obviously wasn't in the right position.
Yes.
Right there, he's made a decision that the consequences are serious. It doesn't matter, right? Why do you go to ground there?
It's the wrong decision from the defender, 100%. And if we want, yes, no, of course. If we want to get very technical now, we can start talking with the coaching language. The defender has done a very poor job of protecting the space behind him when the ball is not framed, or there's no pressure on the ball. So what he should be doing in that situation is he should be dropping off to keep the attacker in front of him. What does he do? He maintains a high line. By the time the contact is made with the ball, it's too late, and now he's turning this way, completely destabilized, running towards his own goal. And worse than that, the attacker is behind him now. So to your point, very good. Yes, I agree.
Just like as a player and a ref, like I'd also say like the chances of that red guy hurting that player and putting him out for the rest of the season are pretty good too. You know what I mean? And at that age, like that's significant.
Perhaps.
Broken leg. I've seen broken legs happen from that sport.
Agreed.
Well, in that aspect, we talk about if it's a goal, what to do. Let's pretend that it's a real foul. Okay, let's pretend this is a real foul. Tony, just explain what happened. What would be your decision? You're 100% sure, you know, video is not clear, but you're 100% sure there's a foul. What is your decision? And there's no goal. What's your decision?
Depends the year on that dog.
But he's in the penalty area.
Yellow card.
Inside it's a penalty kick, outside it's a direct free kick.
Yeah, and
Inside is yellow.
yellow card now, right? Tony, just explain this. Even if it's a dog zone, if there's an attempt to play the ball, we have to take this for granted, and then Tony just said it's a yellow. So we have the two decisions if we're convinced of it. And then we protect the players, yes, of course. And, you know,
Can I ask a coaching question?
Yes.
So this player's running towards a goal. Before he gets into the penalty area, what do you as a coach your defenders? Because if you bring them down going for the ball outside, it's red, dog zone. If you bring them down inside, it's yellow. What do you coach your players to do it in or outside the area?
Tough coaching point there, I guess.
Because you said he followed him too close.
Absolutely. I would try to be proactive and bring it back to that moment that I mentioned before about knowing how to protect the space behind you. This is crisis defending now that he's doing. And as a last resort, which is the worst possible scenario in the box, he's left his feet. So it's a terrible decision, right, for the defender. So as a coach, I would be proactive and coach the moment that took place 5-7 seconds before this to prevent a moment like this from happening. All that defender's trying to do now is to try to prevent a strike at goal. And again, I know the player, so I have the advantage of speaking from that perspective. This is not a malicious player. He's not there with the intent to injure. He's trying to stop the player from scoring. Is there contact? For sure. Another point that we could make, and I know we're being videotaped here, so maybe I should be very careful with what I'm saying. It's interesting because if you look at the attacker, and maybe I'll use an example from another country. If this is a player from South America, let's say, just as an example, and there's this type of contact in the box, what do you think that player's doing? Okay. Simple. And I think the call for the referee might be pretty easy there because of the amount of contact. Maybe, maybe not. But you would definitely see with that kind of contact in the box, the player, the attacker, again, being a little bit savvy, the game within the game, trying to draw a penalty there. Food for thought. But he decides to stay on his feet and ultimately doesn't get the goal.
But that tackle has impacted his ability to play the ball the way he wanted to.
Certainly. Certainly. The result of the indirect free kick was a ball that went over the bar. So, prevented the goal. prevented the goal. I don't know how much time we want to spend. We could talk about this for a while, but we'll move on to the next one. All right, here we go. Context. UFT Ryerson. This is the bronze medal game in 2016. Winner goes to the national championship. So there's a lot on the line here. Obviously a very intense university season. And we're 2-1 up, UFT, in the second half with 25 minutes left in the game. And this occurs. And I'm just going to highlight the player that we're looking at, which is this player right here. Okay. And I got a few angles that we'll show. So a straight red card comes out. So I'll show this hopefully from a better angle. Okay. So we're watching the same clip, just a little bit zoomed in. I know it's a bit blurry, but we can still see it. And again, this is the player that we're looking at right here. Here we go. Okay.
That was a fair play. That was a fair play.
Okay, so we see the straight red. I'll give the coaching perspective, again, because I cut out the part of me yelling on the sideline for everybody here. Of course, of course. I don't do that, by the way. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. We regain possession of the ball here. So the player is now in possession of the ball in the opponent's half of the field, and he's going to lose the ball. So he takes a touch, which is not the best touch, and loses possession. So as part of our game model, right, the way we coach our team, when we lose the ball in the opposition's half of the field, we repress the ball. There is a counter press. So a part of our game model is when we lose the ball, we step forward to try to win it back. I'm sure everyone here has heard of the 5-second rule. Yes, Barcelona adopted this, and everyone's probably heard the term before. We do something very similar, and the term that we use is repress the ball. So from my perspective, this is what the player is doing. He's lost possession of the ball, and he steps forward. So he's doing what he's been told to do, and he's trying to recover the ball. Now we've got the defender here with his back turned to the play. Now, if we're asking the question, is this a foul, yes or no? I'll be the first one to say, for sure, this is a foul. He's gone in behind, and he's trying to get the ball. This is the point that I want to see here. Look at his foot, and look where the ball is. So he's trying to repress the ball to regain possession, and as he's doing that, he turns his body into the defender and knocks him over as a result, and he goes to ground.
Depends on where you get that blue player. If you get the blue player on the shoulders, then it's a fair play.
Could be, but again, the result.
Then it's foul. If who's on the shoulder to shoulder, then that was a fair play all day long in my opinion.
Right. The result was a straight red, and we played the remaining 25 minutes down a man in a very, very tough game. Again, the winner goes to the national championship as a result of this. Now, another question or observation, perhaps, would be, where does the foul occur? Sorry?
One of the hot spots on the field.
There you go. Right in front of the Ryerson bench. Just to see how many players were actually up off the bench. Well, there are a few there. Right? Could this have influenced the referee's decision? It's a question. It's a question. Right? Right? And I guess another question is, if we're looking at the referee right now, he's already reaching into the pocket. Is there any hesitation here? There's no hesitation whatsoever to bring out the red. Again, the other question I have from the coaching perspective is, look at the player that was fouled. Watch his reaction. If we could just go back to that quickly. Within half a second, he's back up, and he's completely fine. Again, he's completely fine. No intent to injure. Again, my interpretation. Trying to repress the ball to regain possession. Go ahead, Nikki.
So this player had been a really good Boyle game. There'd
Yep.
been no issues, there'd been no previous talking to, caution, no assistance,
Nothing. This is a wide player that's playing in a wide area.
So you don't
I mean,
trying to set things.
What do you like as a call? What is your call?
my call, foul, carry on. It's a foul, no doubt about it. At the most, if you want to bring out a yellow card, I can live with that. But to bring out a red card in a situation like this, with 25 minutes left in a game where the winner goes to the national championship, and to have us play down a man was very harsh, I thought.
This is great. At the count of 3, I want all of you to make a quick decision without looking at your neighbor. At the count of 3. Raise your hand if it's only a free kick. Show me the yellow. No, at the count of 3. If you think it's a yellow, show the yellow. If you think it's a red, just do a red.
What if you don't think it's
Okay?
anything?
And if it's, yeah, if you want to keep playing on, you just like, you do nothing. Okay? Nothing?
What about,
Free kick, yellow card, or red card. All right? 1, 2, 3.
Ah.
Hold on, you have to hold that pose. Hold that
Couple
pose.
yellows, couple yellows, couple yellows, and just a free kick over there. Very interesting. See how we're divided?
Yeah,
Isn't it great for you?
it's great to see.
And that's
I can't tell you how happy I am to see that. Great.
Well, see how we can debate in one situation right there? And you're absolutely right. And I feel your pain because I was also a coach and player and referee. And then sometimes I watch referees and my heart's beating. If I may, okay, yeah.
No, I'm just trying to understand, maybe to the whole room,
Yes.
if that didn't take place in front of the bench, but rather took place closer to the penalty area,
Yeah.
would that make a difference to some of the people that just said it was foul?
Look, I'm going to be quite strict on it. Yes, it's intimidating to be in front of the bench, but that should not change the decision. Am I clear on this? Yeah. You got to be strong enough to face and to feel the pressure, but it's not because there's like 2 people on the bench and a coach yelling at you that you should change the decision. Then you know what? It means they influence your decision, and that's really bad. It's not based on the laws of the games and your interpretation. It's based on intimidation. I fully disagree with that. Okay?
So that's the same for what he suggested then?
Yes.
Close to the penalty or not away
Well,
from the penalty?
It's the same. If it's the first minute or the 90th minute and it's a red card, are you going to change your call? If you can prove 100% that you're satisfied with your call, why would you change because it's a 90th minute? That could prevent the team to qualify themselves. That's not fair. Every call you make, you have to be able to justify and to defend yourself. Right? That's for me for sure. This is, for me, in between a free kick or a yellow card. However, from what I see, because the white player, did he intend to play the ball when he went there? Did he intend to play the ball? So. Did he touch the ball? It's hard to see, really. Did he even have a chance to touch the ball because he was completely behind the player? That's a question you have to think about. Did he just push, even if it's shoulder to shoulder, he went right actually in the middle of his back and he did a movement like this. Is this part of football? Is this a fair play thing? Is this careless or reckless? And then you have to look at the spectrum. Careless, reckless, excessive force. It was not excessive force, we agree? All right, now we're here. In the spectrum of 1 to 10, careless and reckless, he didn't really play the ball, and we're moving on. We're coming to reckless a little bit, and we're right there.
Here's your moment here, Sonia. There it is.
See, the ball is right there. The ball is on the foot over where the ball is. The ball is in between.
Yep. So he was
Now, is it fair to say that the blue player loses possession of the ball? We could say that.
And then I would like go with what's the game? What's the temperature of the game? What happened before? You know? Did he really have a chance to play the ball there? Or he just want to like unbalance the classes? You know? This is where you have to make a decision. But you know, it's between just a foul or yellow. I think for a red, it was too much. We're all agreeing on this.
I was gonna say though, I mean, right at that moment,
Yeah.
we wouldn't, let's just say it wasn't excessive force to do the nth degree. On the other hand, for that position, to be in that position, to be that close to the player and so on, I would consider it to be excessive force. There's no reason why you want to get in there on the quick. He has a play on why his perspective is.
I'll give you my answer now, and you don't have to agree or disagree. Same for you, Coach.
Yep.
In my opinion, and that's why at FIFA, I guarantee this would have been the answer. Because there's not a real possibility to play the ball. Because this movement is not part of football. Because there's no intensity, it's not a red card. But to control the game and to manage what is not fair play, for me, it would have been a yellow card in a free kick. Immediately get in there and move on. That's it. Finish. It's easy. It's easy. But you do want to protect the players, right? You want to protect the players. And this is not part of football because there was actually, like, he used his body a little bit as a weapon. Okay? Not a tool to protect himself, but he kind of like swung a little bit. You know? So, as an assessor, you would have given no card, but a good management. I would have said, well done. I think you managed the situation well. And if it would have been like really intense in the game and you have to stop that nonsense, I would have accepted yellow card. Okay? So now we have 10 seconds to analyze, and we don't have the whole picture of the temperature of the match. It does influence in the decision.
Sonia, what do you think about the movement of the referee?
The movement of the referee.
I mean, he's walking toward the play rather than running, as you say.
Yeah.
Getting in between the
Yeah.
players, especially when he has a red card in mind. You should be a little bit faster, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. When there's a situation like this, first of all, get the step, get the angle to really see what you need to see. And then I would agree that because now we're close to the technical area, there's even more an urgency to be there to manage a situation, right? That's clear, that's clear. There's an influence if it's going to be a yellow or nothing, but it influences sometimes the potential danger of that situation. So yes, have the urgency of getting there and then make the right decision. That's for sure. Is it not, Joseph?
Go ahead, yeah.
Fair enough?
Can we get the player's perspective on this as well?
Yeah.
I mean, from the players thing, I want to just bring back to Anthony's comment from the last bit with the diving and the guy staying on his feet or not. For the players on the bench, it's the game within the game. I mean, you hear about situations where it's at the pro level, where they're reading things where Bill Neville and Steven Gerrard, when Liverpool had been Manchester United, would get at it because each other would go to a ref for a big decision and push to get a red, push to change the game in some way, and that's exactly what players do now. And Anthony knows in OUA and the same in League One. I mean, my take on the turn of the player's turn is, yeah, it's aggressive, yeah, it's a little forceful, but growing up as a defender and playing with some guys that I know, that's a move that I've seen often, because what happens is if he wins the ball and he can get a foot on that ball and turn, he's now got full possession. He has fully won the ball back, he has shielded the ball from the defender and can do something with that. So I don't necessarily see from a player standpoint, and again, obviously, if I was the guy getting hit right now, I would definitely see this differently. But, but if that's something that I do, that's something my teammates have done in the past, that's something my teammates still do. They'll go for the ball, they'll try to win it, turn, protect, and play. And whether it's a little aggressive like it was there, or whether it's more, what I've seen good, arms out and more of a push. I don't see that as necessarily any sort of a malicious act in the game. And I'm with Anthony, the absolute zero hesitation from the referee, a little quick. And yeah, I'll talk about it in my presentation. There's other things I've seen in big games that are, in my opinion, the wrong call and a misapplication of what some easy rules of the game are that change the game, and I think that can't happen. That player is frustrating, very frustrating.
Okay, last one. I know I'm taking up a lot of time here, sorry. Again, so sorry, the outcome of this was the straight red had to sit out the first game of the national championship, and we ended up losing to Cape Breton, which means the tournament's over. So, harsh.
Lost to Cape Breton?
Yeah. Well,
Just because of being down one player?
Cape Breton's a good team. Okay. Oh, no. I don't know what's going on with my cursor here today. Sorry. Okay. Try to get back to this. Okay, so this clip here is the last one. This is TFC Academy U16 playing in OSL under 21. So in some cases, they're playing 4 years up, because we also had some O2s on this team. So it's a very young team playing against under 21. This is what happens. Camera moves. There's the infraction. And the result is a straight red. Okay, so we'll have to use the slow-mo here. Just bear with me. Okay, so this is the moment that I want to get to here. So we're looking at this player here on the white team, who's actually done a very good job of intercepting the pass as the ball is being played. So there's an entry pass being played into this midfield player, and he's done a very good job of anticipating this ball and intercepting it. So based on the timing of the pass. This is the principle that we would be teaching our defenders. So he goes in, and now I want you to evaluate his first touch. So his first touch, close or far? So it's far away from his feet, right? So we don't really see it in the frame there because the camera's moving. But essentially our center back, our defender, is standing at the halfway line with this 50-50 challenge now that's been created, or that's about to happen. So we've got one player now whose momentum is completely going forward, ready to have a collision with our center back who's at the halfway line. Hopefully we can see a little bit of it here. Okay, so this is where it happens here. They run into each other, and clearly there's a foul. There's a foul for our player, no doubt about it. Is it a red card? Now again, if you look at the referee, who's there, you'll see that within half a second, he's already reaching into his pocket to issue this red card, already. Notice the player, again, that was fouled. So he was here a second ago. There's where the foul took place. Hard challenge, definitely a foul, potentially a yellow card. The player's up within a second. The red card is almost already out of the pocket.
The white player went down first. So how could it be his fault?
Now originally, because this altercation ensues at the end where there's a bit of bickering going on between the players, there's the red card that's shown at that point. But when you look at the video, he's already reaching for the red card as soon as the foul happens. I actually reprimanded my player thinking that maybe he had said something to the referee here, and that is the reason why the red card came out. Was not the case. I had to apologize to my player after the game. The red card was issued for the foul that occurred. Again, we can discuss this now and debate. Is it worth a straight red? And again, the suspension that incurs, and I know the referees have nothing to do with that, 3-game suspension for this under 16 player as a result of that.
It was hard to see.
It was.
Really say what the challenge was because it was a ball of the floor. You can't see anything on this
It's a foul, 100%. It's a foul.
When it's excessive force or reckless, it's very hard for us to see given this video.
And to give some context, first half, second half, score.
This was a tight game, 2-2, tied 2-2. Again, against the team we're playing 3-4 years up. And it's in the second half with maybe 20 minutes to go. Yeah. It's difficult to see, for sure, yes.
Sorry, could you elaborate on what you mean? And you mentioned it twice in two different contexts.
Mhm.
What do you mean by, what do you mean by the referee quickly and directly reaching for the red card? Like in terms of what's the connection between what we call?
So my point with that is very simple. And again, I'm thinking with my coach's hat on, and obviously I played the game before as well. Why not take a second or two, maybe, to evaluate what has just happened and look at the player that just got fouled? Are we calling an ambulance for this player? Is his leg broken, or is he up right away as if nothing happened, right?
We have to assess the foul.
Sure.
Nothing in the laws that says the player needs to be severely injured for that to be an excessive force challenge. Like, we can't.
But taking the time is really important.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
It could also be argued, though, that he is taking time from the time he walks over. Like, you don't know which color he's got in the front. He may have both of them.
Can you just like, right there?
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yeah?
What's the first thing to analyze with this?
Does it affect the player?
No, what's happening right there? Who committed the foul? Red.
White has white.
Where's the ball? And what's going to happen next? Space of play.
No.
So why rushing a call like this when you're like, you're going on a breakaway and then like, what again? You're giving a foul and you're disadvantaged the team that I guess commit the foul. You know what I mean? Nope, that's not right, but you know what I mean?
Now, I get if it was
You know what I mean?
true red.
Yeah, but even if it's a real red, you play on. You can come back to that player to give a red if you really think it was a red. But that's really important because the guy's going alone. And there's a chance that maybe like there's a goal, even if he's far. Okay? Even if he's far. So that's number one. Do you agree with this? Yeah. First thing, so don't rush your signal. Don't rush your cards or anything like that. Assess quickly what are the opportunities for possibility. And then
Yeah. No problem. Does everyone see the point I'm making from the coach's perspective about this player's first touch?
Yeah.
And how this situation has been created, a 50-50 situation, as a result of a poor first touch. Did a good job intercepting the pass, but now that you have this situation where a player's full momentum is going one way and ready to collide with another player at midfield. Something's going to happen for sure, right? Can we say that the red player is using violent conduct here? Again, I know the player. That's not the intent. It's a hard challenge for sure. But again, red card and then a 3-game suspension after. It's a little bit tough.
And I think the other thing to take into consideration, and Anthony can probably back me up on this, anyone who coaches, when 50-50 challenges like that happen, from a young age, and I don't know, again, this is just how I was taught. I had some pretty tough coaches. One thing you're taught to do is if you go in soft, you risk getting injured. And at an age like this, and I'm sure this is what Anthony teaches his kids at TFC, and for a U21 kid, probably 19 to 21, this is something that he's probably taught too. You're both gonna go in hard, and it's gonna, no matter what way it goes, it's gonna look bad. And I think for me, and being a defender, being these challenges, there has to be the understanding that it's going to look worse than probably what's actually going to happen.
And I just want to clarify one thing. I'm sorry, but it's really important because the player will get 1-match suspension or 3-match suspension on what you write on the report. Is this a serious foul play or a violent contact? Makes a big difference in your report. Who says serious foul play?
Well, we can't.
If we could-
Okay, let's say, can we see the moment of contact?
We can try.
It's not in
as a red card, it would be serious foul.
It's a collision, for sure.
I don't even think so.
Look where the ball is. Go back.
It's, match officials only take care of it.
What are the criteria to decide if it's a serious foul play and a violent contact? Okay, please, one at a time. Quickly, what are the criteria? The proximity of the ball, right? Then. The ball play, oh yes, it's taking that next one. Sports, okay?
Where the players were,
Where the players are, okay, yeah. What else will make you,
Where the contact took place. Where the contact took place.
where the contact? Yes.
and the
Serious
intent,
foul play has to be committed against an opponent, okay?
the intent of the player.
The intent of the player. All right, so all this has to come through your head in a few seconds, okay? When I say few seconds, it could be 2 or 3 seconds because you can delay this ball. You gotta make sure you have it right. But for the coaches and the players and in the administration, it makes a huge difference what you write in the report. So my point here is make sure that if you write serious foul play or violent contact, there's a huge difference between the two. Okay, that is the accurate decision. Because the consequences are huge for a player and coach perspective. Okay?
That's all I got. Thank you.
My name is Cameron Brooks. I'm new to the Ontario soccer team, and I like to think I have be able to give a very good opinion on some of this. Bit of my background, been playing competitive since U10. This is back when 11v11 was consistent across everything. So there are some of the rules that I'm not up to date on, and some of the things I'm going to be talking about today are going to be relating back to that. Varsity athlete Laurentian, played against Anthony a number of times. Thank you. As Nikki mentioned, League One. I've been playing League One since its inception with Woodbridge, Durham, and now Derby. And I have absolutely zero referee experience. So I'm open to a lot of dialogue throughout this. I'm hoping my presentation is going to be short and sweet. Please interrupt. Please show any yellows or reds if we want to have a discussion, and happy to chat. So some of the things we're going to be talking about today. These are things that I've just seen growing up, things that I've been a part of that have frustrated me in a game, things that I see now with referees that I love and I think is working really well, and things that I've heard about that, again, both are working really well and are doing well, and things where things didn't go great. And I think at the end of the day, understanding the application of the rules, ego and control, and communication are the three things that realistically, and to Nikki's point we talked about the other day, all will lead back to consistency. Right now, as mentioned, playing League One, a lot of these things level up to League One, and the spectrum of what we see and what we deal with in League One, and I'm sure Anthony's seen this with OUA as well, it's so broad and it's so wide, and it would just be nice to be able to bring it so much closer together. So from game to game as a player, we don't necessarily have to worry about us changing drastically from game to game in order to just be able to play and do what we want to do, and at the end of the day, that's win at that level. So first is knowledge and application of the rules. Especially at a younger age, and this is where a lot of these things are coming from, need to know what they're calling and the ability to properly apply the rules of the game at all ages. I think my number one experience when I was playing, it was a U15 Ontario Cup game, one of the later rounds. I'm a defender, so I headed the ball back to my goalkeeper. Goalkeeper's in the box, picks up the ball, referee calls a back pass. The indirect free kick led to a goal. We lost the game 1-0. That, again, to Anthony's point, a cup game. That's a misinterpretation of a rule that led to a goal that caused us to lose. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Did you flick it to yourself and head it to the keeper?
Nope, ball was played long, over my head, the ball bounced, I headed it back, referee called a back pass.
Thank you.
So that's something where, and I know other rules. There was another Ontario Cup game. I believe it was U16 semifinals. So a game where winner of that game goes to the national championships to represent Ontario at a pretty good level. I believe it was about the 85th minute. It wasn't a game I was a part of. 85th minute, Team gets a free kick by about 20 yards out. Players ask for 10 yards. Referee says, okay. Referee's counting out the 10 yards. Team takes the free kick before the wall's set. Before the referee has set the wall, team takes the free kick. Team scores. Referee allows the goal. Team wins 2-1. They go to nationals. Another misapplication of a rule in a big game that led to a team losing their spot to go to a massive tournament and represent their clubs and represent themselves. I think those are some things, especially at a younger level, that frustrates kids. When I was in it, it frustrated me, frustrated a number of my teammates, and I'm sure it frustrated some of those kids that were in that big game. And to Nikki's point the other day, that at certain levels is what causes kids to lose a desire to play. It kind of makes us feel like we don't have the full ability to determine the outcome of the game. And if that's going to be determined for us, what's the point? Second is ego and control. One of the big things I see, especially in League One, and I saw it in the OUA as well, is referees coming in thinking they are bigger than the game. My word is God. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, that is not going to change things. And there are many games that I've seen where referees have taken that, have affected the outcome of the game, and used certain things outside of the game to influence their judgment when it comes in. There's a funny story I was telling Nikki, and this was from I believe it was in Barrie, I'm not too sure, where one night the referee in question was out in the town with friends. She was out, went to a bar. Bouncer wouldn't let her in. Bouncer's doing his job. He's doing exactly what he is being paid to do and is what the law requires him to do. Doesn't let the referee in. 3 days later, men's league game. That referee is reffing his men's league game. Within 10 minutes, she has given him 2 yellows for what I was told were pretty nothing challenges. Kicks him out. When the coach says, what was that red card for? Coach gets kicked out. All because a couple days earlier, the referee.
How do you prove that? How are you determining that those 2 yellow cards were a result of 3 days earlier her not being let in a bar?
This was from a reputable, this was someone who is a close friend of mine. I know him very well. He was the coach. He knew exactly where I'm coming from, knew exactly who the ref was. And again, as much as it is hearsay, it was so close to when things happened and when the game was, and it was that player. I think that's something where, that's just a story I have, but there are so many times when there's a chance that referees will let past games that might be competitive, let outside things affect their judgment, and I've seen it and I've been a part of it. So,
Can I just say it
absolutely.
shouldn't happen, but it does happen because it's human nature for that to happen in life, not just referees.
Absolutely, oh, absolutely.
If somebody does physically or verbally abuse you during a game, they happen in the next game. Shouldn't happen, but it is part of the game. It's part of, as was alluded to before, you get to know players and who the trouble causers are, who you can talk to,
Yep.
how you can talk to. And if some people, for instance, ball goes out of play, ball plays with the hand up, they know who's doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
They're trying to kick the referee.
Absolutely.
The same person doing it all the time, you're going to get a referee, maybe go on the side of the other person, it's a 50-50.
Absolutely.
That's just human nature.
And
It will happen.
for sure, and the thing about this referee in question is this referee is someone that I've had, someone that I have had many times growing up, and someone who does the exact same thing every single time.
So there must be an avenue for you as a player to report that referee.
And to the best of my knowledge, we have. And things have not changed with this referee.
Why is that?
So, pardon me?
Why is that?
Why have things not changed? That's,
You're a month into the job.
yeah.
No, I'm
It
just
is-
asking.
why-
There's no punishment for the refs. The coaches get fined, the players get fined. But the refs can do what.
I don't know if the coaches or players get fined.
Can I
It's
say something?
Tony, you can definitely step in.
Can I respond to that? The fact that coaches think that nothing happens to the referee, it's sad that we hear that. The referee are under the same discipline policy as players and coaches. And we have suspended referees, we have dealt with referees. So to say that nothing happens, it's not.
You say? Yep.
Also, on the same token, many times referees go to a field with clubs that shall be nameless, and as soon as they get in the parking lot, the club and the players say, oh, not him again.
Yep.
Now, based on a game before or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So it's a two-sided coin.
Absolutely, but I think the one thing is, to that point, is there certain clubs, certain players, certain leagues, when it's something where being close to other players, in a position I'm in now, moving from club to club, moving from team to team, getting close through whether it be League One All-Star games or coming to League One banquets and talking to people from across the province, when that is similar in a similar thought for 12 different teams in a 16-team league, then yes, as much as it's something where it could be there's a good chance it could be our fault, it could be chance players, the coaches, the clubs itself. But when there's these certain referees where this is the opinion that everybody has of them and everyone sees it and everyone talks about it, I think that could potentially be a little above us and a little more than stuff that we can handle, if that makes sense. So, finally, the last thing, and this, as much as it could be called communication, it goes back to what Tony talked about in relationships. Over the last number of years in League One with similar refs, and Dave Barry being one of them, and myself and my teammates in the clubs have been on, we've become pretty close to these referees. First name basis outside of the game, talk to them, see them, have chats whenever they show up. Especially in League One, I love the fact that when referees now come in, they come in before every game, they talk to the teams, there's a little bit of banter, it's a little bit of fun. I think what that does significantly affects what's on the field and goes to that last point of understanding competitive versus disrespectful when things happen. I think there's too many times when 20 minutes in, a bit of a foul happens, soft or not, guy goes down, referee makes a big call in a big position, and as a defender, I know I am guilty of potentially calling out some bad things and saying some words I potentially shouldn't say. But I think there has to be, and for some refs there's a great understanding of when a player says something in frustration because it's a big game, a League Cup final. I mean, now with League One factoring into the national championships, for big teams and big games, every game counts. Like, this is something where players like myself who probably will not go to that next level, this is a chance to get to a level where we're going to be under a bit of a spotlight. We have a chance to showcase ourselves, and we all want to get there. And understanding when a player is just being competitive and wanting to win, rather than being disrespectful and trying to demean the referee, demean your opinion, your call, the foul, that's two different things. And I think with some referees, there is definitely a little bit of leniency, and I'll go back to the camaraderie and the banter. There are times when, and I'll use Dave as a great example, and I don't know whether that's just because he's English or what, where I have said something to Dave has said something equally as mean back to me, and I'll say, okay, and you get on with the game. And 60 minutes later, when I'll say something to Dave, and Dave will look at me and say, that's enough, not another word. In my head, I go, okay, he's being serious, not another word. Dave's not the only one that does that. There are a number of other referees that do that. And I believe it's because they understand us, they know us, and like Tony said, get to know the players, get to know the teams. I find there's too many referees, or not too many referees, there are referees that come in with this conceived notion. It goes back to the whole ego thing where you question their call, you question a big foul, and it is immediately to the yellow card, immediately to the judgment, and it's something that really affects the outcome of the game. There is one, and I think this is a great one, I brought it up to Nikki.
Don't name
I am not going to name the referee. I will not name the referee, and I will end on this. It was the end of a game, League One. I believe the game ended 1-1. Really tough game, kind of towards the end, both teams were wanting to win, getting a little chippy. Game ends. At the end of the game, referees in our end, plus with the play finished, the captain of my team, who, and I know if I said the name to Anthony Joe Zuppo, very respectful guy, doesn't really say many mean things, isn't in the ref's face all the time. The words that came out of his mouth were, didn't have a yellow card, had no incidents with the ref throughout the game. The words that came out of his mouth were, "Ref, that was shocking." Referee immediately turned around, gave him a red card. After the game was over, just for saying that was shocking. I think stuff like that kind of has to change. So, I mean, there's some of the key takeaways from what I hope I got. Know some of the rules and know how to apply them, when to apply them properly, and be able to communicate them to the players when there's things that they don't understand. I would love to sit on some of Tony's sessions and try to see what are some of the things I don't know, what are some of the things where when a referee makes a call, some things that I don't understand that where if I take it in, I can say, okay, I can see how you call that a foul, I'm gonna get on with the game, rather than getting mad, getting frustrated, saying something that I might not want to say. Manage the game, don't run the game. You are there to control and keep the players safe, apply the rules. You're not there to determine the outcome. And then finally, open lines of communication. I was talking to Dave Kelly in our office about a story he had from when he went over to, I believe he said it was Sweden. And at a very young age, I don't know if anyone else knows this, what they do is they played, much like OPDL, they played either 3 periods or 4 quarters. And at the end of at every stoppage, the referee would walk over to both teams' coaches, and say, how did you think I do? Any questions on this call? Anything you wanna discuss from what you just saw? No? Okay, let's play. Or if there's something, they have that open dialogue, they discuss. It's something throughout the game where there's that mutual understanding of where the referee's coming from when he makes certain things, where coaches are coming from when they get frustrated, and apparently that open dialogue has really affected how referees ref over there and how the relationships there are potentially a little better than they are in places like, let's say, Portugal, for example. So, thanks, guys. Oh, sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you, Nikki and Tony, for the great program that has been worked on, and everybody that is involved. I don't want to left anybody out. It's fantastic. And then when it's going to be like fully implement, I think you have a bright future and it's going to help the game. Thank you, coaches and players and all the coaches that are here that are not referees to be here today. We need more of those discussions. Excellent. So great start. And I think it's a great idea to have it together like this. I'm going to be very brief because I don't want to repeat the wonderful conversation we've had so far. I'm just going to try to add a few things to what we've been talking about. For those who don't know me, I ref few games in my life, so I have an idea a little bit of what is refereeing. And I also play and I also coach. So I think it's a tool for the referees also. If you have been all around in the game, that you've played the game and you've coached, you feel the tackle when it happens, don't you? Right? You feel a little bit better because I played and I had some like injuries in tackle and I'm like, ouch. So when I'm a referee, I'm like, ouch as well. I feel the pain for the players and the coaches. So it helped me a lot to do a better job. I'm convinced of that. It's not compulsory, but it does help. And I've seen a lot of international referees also that are at the highest level, never played the game in their life, and they're still very good because they understand the game and they respect the environment. For me, the CPR approach, and then the referees, I talked about it a little bit like this morning, but for the coaches that weren't there, it's coach, player, referee. What are we there for in a game? Like, what do you guys want at the end of the day? You want your player to perform, you want to win the game, you want to have no injury, right? You want to spare your players. You want to have a good performance and you want to like shine during this game, give all your heart to the field and finish the game without an injury and hopefully a win, right? Do you come to a game by saying, oh, number 10, I'm going to break his leg today? If you start a game like this, we have a problem. And in the referee, I am convinced also that they tackle every game to start the game by saying that I'm going to do my best today. And I'm hoping they do. And if they don't, it's a wrong attitude, and we talked about this. Okay? But very important, the attitude. We're all there for the same reason, and we want the same result. Finish the game, being happy, and go home feeling satisfied of our performance. Same goal. So we have to work together. We have to respect one another in each of our role, and for us in particular is to protect the players. I'm going to tell you more a little bit about solutions. In every international tournament, for example, and in the Algarve Cup that is going there, before each tournament, I had a small session, as being the person in charge of the referees, I had a small session with all the coach, just to go over maybe some change. We're talking about half hour. Change in the laws of the games. Can we have the GPS? Answer question of coach or players or technical people or representative of the team that came to the opening meeting before the tournament. Clarify a few things, and then it was a way to help the referees to do their job. Avoid a ton of questions from the coach and the players to each of the referee after each match, and that was clarifying a few things in no time to start on a good note. So that's a quick solution to do. And then I kept telling to the coach and the players, please, if you have something, don't get onto the referees like during the match. It won't go anywhere. Come to me and I will help you to find a solution. I will explain the law because I have the time. Sitting in this stand, I will take the time to do it. It was really interesting because this morning we talked about players and coaches and captain asking the referees question. The referees, just to be clear, for 90 minutes, there's a million decisions, a million things to look at. There's not much time to answer questions and to explain the laws of the game. However, what I told them, it has to be respectful. You cannot be arrogant. You cannot say, I don't want to answer you. You have to say, sorry, sir, like the ball's in play. I can't talk to you right now. I'll get back to you. And when the ball's out of play, if you have a few seconds to clarify a few things that would help the game, great. If you don't have time because the game is fast, do it at halftime or do it after the game. But I think we all have to understand that it's 15 minutes whistle to whistle at halftime. If I take 5 minutes of my time out of those 15 minutes to explain Law 11, I don't rest during that time. So it's not fair for me either, right? So if it's only a couple words, great. And then that's, I think, if this is an understanding, I think we can go far. Okay? And if it's done with respect, I think we're also in a better situation. We talked about communication, performance, and respect. Again, the CPR. What is your number one goal? Is the performance of your team, of your players, of the game. Well, it's the same for us. It's performance. Okay, and this is also key for us. You may not know, but like referees prepare for the match. At the highest level, there's also fitness tests, there's medical exam, there's tactical preparation, physical preparation. There's a lot of work done by the referees that like sometimes it's underestimated. There's a lot of commitment by the referee. And then often for not much money, right? So the behavior and the mentality of the referees and the commitment is huge in preparation. And that's not to take lightly. What we try to work on a little bit more in the modern game now is the football understanding. It's not just good enough now to know the laws of the game, not good enough. And we said this morning, we need to manage 22 players. We need to manage the technical area. We need to manage even sometimes all the surrounding and the fans and the coaches and everybody else around it. So it's a very demanding 90 minutes in a match. But more the referee knows about your players, who are the key players, what's at stake in that game, a national championship. Whoa, I better be in shape. So I better go to bed early the night before. No alcohol, take it seriously. You know, and this is all part of like what the players at a high level should do as well, you know. So it's important to have the package as an athlete. A referee is an athlete and must be an athlete to serve the game the best we can. Really, it was just like few slides. For me, it's all the discussion that we've had for the last hour and a half or something, and then you triggered so many things with the videos. And we also believe part of the training to help the game is to see many videos and get consistency in our decision. That's why I was like, when we showed like yellow card, no card, it was all like, right? We had 4 different decisions in 30 people, and it was like 24% of each decision. We didn't get consistency here. But maybe after reviewing the video, discussing the key point to analyze, then we will get consistency in the next call. And we do a lot of education like this, and then we want to do more. We now have practical session. We simulate what could happen in the game and we solve it. And that's part of the education. Tony said it well, we will always have like some sort of like mistake. But if we work together with respect, I think we're gonna go far. And if there's something major, please report it. Don't yell at the referee for unnecessary reason. And same with the parents. Report to Ontario Soccer, report to Canada Soccer. And I am like pretty convinced that some action will be taken. At least they will send an assessor for the next match and see for themselves, okay, we have a problem with this referee. And then maybe work on what's the problem, right? Action will be taken because we want to look good as well. It's not good for us if the game is not going well, right? So action will be taken. And then at the same time, if some referees are abused verbally or physically by being pushed by a coach or something like this, then it has to be reported. And then some other authority will help, maybe by just having a conversation and then find a solution to the game. And all this is for the benefit of the game. It's all words right now. I know when you're there and it's a World Cup game, trust me, it's a different story. We have the adrenaline to the roof, and then we react differently. But if we prepare for that pressure, everybody, we're going to react better when it happens. And that's part of the education and the planning. I also believe that the appointment should be based on performance and not too much fast tracking, but to give to each referee the game that they're able to handle, right? And then if you progress normally, then you'll be able to deliver a good performance on the field. And when the referee is ready, they can get something a little bit more challenging. And also this is quite important in the evolution. Any question? I think we've killed the topic a little bit, like in this period of time. Really good luck for the coaches. All the coaches are here for your season. And thank you everybody for your attention. Have a great weekend.
One of the things that we've started talking about as we are launching LTOD is how the performance of the match official impacts the development of the players. And at first when we started talking about this, I thought, no way. There's no chance that our performances as referees going to impact the development of a player. Until some of the technical directors started talking to us and telling us how and why this has happened. So my presentation today is going to be the psychological aspects of our refereeing and how does it impact the players. The role of the match official is far from minimal in the outcome of the game. Every decision we make is important. And I think it was Kizan that said in his presentation that we're in the business of making decisions. I like to take that to the next level. We're in the business of making the correct decisions as much as we possibly can. We know because VARs and all this technology, we're still going to make mistakes. And we must understand, coaches, players, referees, that we will make mistakes. That just goes, it's part of the process. It's part of refereeing. The better, knowledgeable, fitter referee will benefit the game. And it's funny that all these clips that you guys were seeing from Anthony, I've got the privilege of getting them a couple of days after the game. I'm the first one that gets the clip. What do you think? We need to train. Why do we need to train? Why do we need to be fit? And Keysan went through all of that. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. If we're not fit, and we're looking at a U15, U14, just a U14 game. And all of a sudden you get these fit young players running 100 miles an hour, and we are left behind. So fitness is a big part of refereeing. Uneasy relationships on a field. And you know, not every referee is loved by players. Not every referee is loved by coaches. Some more than others. But we have to diffuse those situations as match officials. We need to understand the player. We need to understand the game. We can't just go in there and say, the book says it's a red card and you're gone. FIFA now has given us the opportunity to use what we used to call common sense. So we need to apply that. I don't want to say the majority of the times, but in a lot of games, the referee, player, referee, coach, it's always, you know, coaches are there to win. Referees are there either looking for a promotion or looking to have a good game. I honestly don't believe that a referee gets out of bed in the morning and says, I'm going to go out there this afternoon, I'm going to screw that game up. But it happens. The better referees, when that happens, you've got to be able to put that out of your mind, move on to the next game. I have to pick my buddy. Come on.
I'm going to let him know that.
Hey, I've got a hug this morning, so don't go spoiling it. Relationships between coaches, players, and referees. That is really important. One of the things that I pride myself of when I was refereeing at a somewhat decent level, the friendships that I have established outside of the field of play with coaches and players still exists today. So we need to think about that. And I don't go out for beer with Anthony or any players. I don't. But there's always that professional relationship, and we need to establish that. And this is Nikki's favorite word, that referees are the necessary evil in the game. To a certain extent, I agree with it. But there's a lot of coaches that understand the pains that we go through in a game. And I was just telling a story earlier this week about a game that I refereed, and it didn't matter if it was this way or this way. It was the wrong decision to this coach. So eventually I had to deal with that, but I found a way to deal with that without having to eject them. It's what we need to find as referees. I didn't come up with this. It's a research by a university in France. Coaches in particular aggravate referees. What does that mean? Why do they aggravate you? That happens. That happens. We have them in Ontario, we have them across Canada. There's always that coach trying to, what can I get away with it? And that's a fair statement. Coaches and players do not have a full understanding of the laws of the game. And I have a lot of fun when I go into clinics with coaches and players, and we start talking about the laws of the game, and they go, whoa, I didn't know that. Whoa, I didn't know that. But there are coaches and players that take the opportunity to learn about the laws of the game. TFC, for example, they host it's mandatory for a particular age group. They choose the age group, and all of those players have to take the entry-level clinic. We haven't done yet this year, but we normally do a session with the majority of TFC coaches, just so they understand what the laws are. And that's why Anthony's got all these. So the other thing that officials seem to be concerned with is how a coach at a higher level games can influence the appointment of officials. And I can't speak for anybody else. I look after most of the high level appointments in this province, and I don't care who the coach is. There is no coach in this province that's going to tell me who's going to referee X game. That is my decision. I may listen to the two coaches. At the end of the day, I have to make a decision who's the best official for that particular game. The assessments. We are so concerned about the assessments. We are so concerned about that 8.4, 8.5, that we forget about everything else. For officials, my biggest hope is that we need to break that wall, us versus them. Whether it's referee assessor, referee coach, or referee player. We have to become together the pillar that develops this game in this country. In Canada, there's a lot of that through Facebook and media. I'm not a Facebook guy, as probably most of you know, but I get these quotes from the Facebook sent to me by email. In Europe, Portugal especially, the criticism of match officials in the media is horrendous. So we need to somehow put an end to that. England does it well. You want to go on TV and criticize the referee, it's going to cost you money. You have a problem, you bring it into the office, we'll deal with it behind closed doors, no issues. How do we change? I'd say fire all the coaches. Just let the referees coach.
Can I use my red card?
No! LTOD. That's going to be a big part of the change. How we train referees, how we educate referees. One of the biggest problems, and we talk about this all the time, is we send 15, 16, 25 people to an entry-level clinic, and after 16 hours, we turn them loose. How many instructors in this room? Who can make a referee in 16 hours? Stand up. Thank you. All we do is we give those young people or new referees the surviving skills of officiating a match. And because of this program, with the mentorship and the coaching that's going to happen, we're going to get better. We need more fitness. And I know that a lot of referees don't like me because I'm pushing fitness like crazy. And I'm not going to back down. 3 minutes. Education and fitness. That goes without a doubt. Mentorship and coaching at all levels. We need to do more of that. More communication between referees and players and coaches. Signals. A simple signal. Whistle goes, it's going this way. Everybody knows. So there's no arguments.